But I got to tell you, this movie is really hard to see, even for me. And
we're back.
We're
Softly.
back.
Invite
Welcome
me.
back. So now we're going to do Patty, I believe, right?
Yeah.
yep. So my movie is Soft and Quiet, done in 2022. Let's look at a clip.
Okay.
I am really, really happy that we are finally doing this. Today, I just want us to introduce ourselves, get to know each other. There's no agenda that needs to be accomplished. I'm a teacher down at the school, and everything thus far has been a step in the right direction in the magazine, but we want to be careful with this first issue, right? We want to engage the mainstream, right? We can't come on too strong, okay? Soft on the outside, so vigorous ideas can be digested more easily. Now, we are the best secret weapon that no one checks at the door, because we tread quietly.
Hey, that was a great clip.
So scary.
That was weird. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Patty, continue.
What? Okay, this movie is directed and written by Bethy Aruha. It's a Blumhouse, and it was always put down as a horror/thriller. So, I went for it because I like Blumhouse. But I got to tell you, this movie is really hard to see, even for me. And it starts off with an elementary school teacher organizes a get-together for like-minded women. That's how it's advertised. And so you see her do that. The church rectory, the little rooms upstairs, we're all sitting there. She brings a pie, and there's a Nazi emblem on the pie. And you think, what the hell? But actually, even before that, you really get a sense of what the movie is just by little things of how she talks to the cleaning guy, you get a real instinct of what is coming up, but not as far as you think it's going to go, and it goes far. So,
I agree.
pie, the mop, the guy with the mop. And so you really realize how quickly like-minded people and a mob mentality can cross over any moral or legit boundary and get carried away. And this is what happens here. You see these 4 or 5 women razzing each other up, just like heating each other up. The more and more they talk about what they think is wrong in America. And because of the Nazi pie, I'm sure you know where that goes. Okay. It's funny. Mob mentality shows you these people would never have done anything if they were by themselves. But because they were with like-minded people, they went over the top, underneath, and sideways. And the group, what it does is it picks on 2 sisters who they know and goes to their home because they want an apology, so they say. Because they feel these 2 sisters have insulted them in some way. Well, I think also too is when I was younger, I was in juvie, and I actually saw this kind of behavior, and I remember thinking that boy, mob rule is a frightening thing, especially because it gets everybody going where they never would go by themselves because they're normally two chickens, right? It also shows the viciousness of women. Whoever thinks women can't be vicious, it's so out of line. I mean, you just have to see not even just women, the viciousness of people. I thought these women, I would have named their names, but nobody knows them. You know what I mean? So, but one's a school teacher, one's unemployed, one's a librarian. It's very normal, everyday people, which makes it even scarier. It's funny enough, it was filmed from the house on. It's filmed in one continuous shot just to get the momentum up. And as I say, though, this is a really hard movie to watch. But funny enough, the ending didn't surprise me. It's been done a million times.
Oh, I agree. Definitely.
Oh,
me? All right. Yeah, that's the one thing that impressed me about this movie was the way it was shot, that it was only one continuous shot. So what I heard is that they did it 4 days. They shot it 4 days. They did the same shot 4 days in a row. And they probably picked that one day that everything went smoothest. So, and I think there's quite a few movies that have been done that. I think the longest one has been like 3 hours or something back in the day that's one continuous shot. I think one of those 1917 was done in one, or Dunkirk, one of those.
Yeah, the one we just saw that was up for Academy Award.
The one that's shot in the museum in Russia.
That's the longest one I think it's ever. So, anyways, but the movie, it is. I heard about it that it was like people keep saying the scariest movie I've ever seen. I did not find it scary. I would say more disturbing. It was the thing. I kind of found it hard to believe that women would be that way. I know women can be vicious.
Yes, they can, George. Yes, they can.
But I think
in the right environment.
But I always think they would be vicious in a
different way.
Not in a violent way, but more like a sneaky way. No, more like give you poison rather than stick you on top of the head. But
get everybody to hate you.
So, but it also shows how the movie to me also shows how like you say, group mentality, but how you do things and how easily things can get out of hand where there's no way back now. Like, oops, then you get to that one point, like, oops, things just got out of hand. Something happened, and then, now we're screwed. And also how in a group, all it takes is one nudge up in your group to just, to just take everybody down the wrong path, And they did have a one nudge up in that group, and probably 1.5 because the other girl too. And I think also the soft and quiet refers to, I talk about all these groups, hate groups. And how obviously there's saying that there's obviously women in these groups too, and they are the soft and quiet part of those groups. They're your high school teacher or your elementary school teacher, your journalist or whatever, but you don't know that they're, like I say, that they walk among us, but they're soft and quiet, so you don't know. It makes that point.
The director and the writer of this movie, she wrote it because she wanted to see, like just like you said, George, that it's the underbelly of society, but it's also that women can be this way and how they go about it in one way.
Well, one thing I thought though that is kind of one part of that was kind of smart writing too, though. In certain points that they were making were correct, and I can see it based on their beliefs, why they felt the injustices to them, and I could see why they felt that way. Of course, they had they were blaming. I was telling Susie, you should be blaming the system, not the people. Why maybe that person got the job and you didn't. You should be blaming the system, not the people. They had nothing to do with it. So it's who they blame and also their solution to it and how they're going to deal with it. So it makes some interesting. That's really true. It makes some interesting discussion.
That's what she was saying at the beginning. Mm-hmm. She was saying at the beginning how she cleverly, put in a couple of things that me as a white woman could totally relate to, right? But then it goes to a whole
where you're like, where you go, okay, actually they're making some points, I can get it. And then he goes south. So hold on a minute. You're like, huh? Hey, what happened? So anyways, it actually, I mean, in a disturbing way. It was a food for thought. I mean, the way that I'm like, who came up with this stuff? Who came up with this idea? Who wrote this?
Yeah.
So, but that's an interesting movie.
Okay, Bob.
Okay, I would have probably hesitated to even review this movie because I don't know how to review it without giving away stuff, and everybody's given away stuff already. So, I mean, no need to watch the movie. What I did find interesting about it was the way it was done, in that the first scene is the woman giving herself a pregnancy test and seeing the result and crying. She's sitting on the toilet and looks at the result and starts crying. And I'm going, is she crying because it's positive, or is she crying because it's negative? And so that's leading me to think it's going to be a certain type of movie. And then there's a very awkward scene between her and a child who's waiting for his mother. And when the mother shows up, you can tell that there's just something a little off about something in the scene. When we get to the pie, I was like, I still went, what is that? Like what's that design? I mean, don't they realize? And then there's a pan, and you see a board that's saying what the meeting is about, and now you know the world you're in. However, after that point, it's downhill. I mean, it's a great setup. It's a really, really well done, but it's a 45-minute movie stretched out to about an hour and a half, and the rest of it is so predictable. And as we've said, like they're just going down a certain path, which I think the movie showed itself to be too smart to go down that path. It's sort of like it's trying to be a horror movie now. It's trying to be a violent movie now. And the power of it to me was that, yes, this is the next door neighbor. I mean, I've been in the company of people like this, where if they feel comfortable with you, then it starts showing. And I don't want to, I mean, they're the friends of the people I'm visiting, so I don't want to say, you people are bonkers. So I just keep my mouth shut until I can leave, and I don't particularly like doing that. But especially since they don't seem to care what I feel. They're not. They have no idea who I am when they start talking about this stuff. But so we say, okay, we've kind of denied that these people are out there, and this is showing. Oh, there's so many of them out there. They're all over the place. And now you have more of an idea of what the real world is like. So in terms of it being a window to the real world, I give it a lot of credit. I just wish they had done it, either found a different route to go with it, or that they had just made a short rather than a feature-length film out of it.
Okay. Okay. Soft and quiet. I say this is a film nobody wants to see. It's violent porn. That to me. There was only one other movie that I could not continue.
She couldn't finish it. Yeah.
I could not continue watching. I could not continue watching.
Mm-hmm.
It was
this film.
We'll have to stop it for
this movie.
Okay.
But there was one other movie in time, Passion of the Christ. It was like I feel like I'm part of this by watching it. It's just disgusting. That's why it's just disgusting. I can't watch it. I say Passion of the Christ.
Try my method. I went to sleep.
I was in a movie theater and I literally stood up. I mean, I didn't want to stand up. I was like, it stood up. It was like, I know the story. I think you're really indulging yourself here a little in the story.
Which movie are you talking about?
Passion of the Christ, right? So yeah, but it was the same. It's kind of, I don't need to see this. I just tell me the story of what you're trying to say. And I found everybody was so stereotyped. I just really, they were so, like I have a hard time when good guys are not that good and bad guys are not that bad. There's something redeeming, or there's something not quite perfect about the good guys. So this is very simplistic to me. It felt like I was participating in a form of voyeurism. I had no idea to be part of it. I get the point. I don't need to watch the gory details. Sorry, Patty.
Yes. No, I understand that because this, again, is another movie I'd probably never watch because it's a Blumhouse movie, Patty.
She already identified that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And she knows, like, I always get disturbed when I see their name. But I thought, oh, that Ethan Hawke one wasn't bad. So let me just stick with this one. Right? So I did. And actually, I was actually surprised. It was not as... there was no real gore or anything, so I appreciated that. It's not really disturbing, but it was sort of off for me because the thing is, at the very beginning, the teacher, Emily, played by Stephanie Estes, you see, and immediately, in my opinion, that she seems to be not a nice person. I mean, literally, like you had said at the beginning. I immediately, she makes a comment about the janitor at one point, in dealing with the child or that expressing something to another, mother. And it's like, yeah, okay, this isn't a nice person, period.
Well,
so then she meets up with the other women.
Plus,
right?
when she makes the boy go in there and be assertive and...
Well, no, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
The fact that she's saying, and then she says, oh, yeah, that janitor, It's like, okay. Like I said, this is not a nice person. And she's a teacher. This is what cracks me up, right?
Yeah.
So then she has the pie, which is another sort of wholesome kind of thing too. And then as it's revealed at the meeting, stuff like that. What I did find sort of fascinating is, yes, they are expressing views that I understand why people would have. I mean, I actually get that. That's part of the communication. I don't agree with the ultimate idea or application you have to those views, but it's like, no, I can understand why you feel frustrated in this and that. Because that
was actually good.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty good.
The discussion is like, okay, you're just showing people who, oddly enough, you're seeing the white female feeling alienated in their own society because of the way things are done now, right? And they can't express it either. Supposedly, this is what their frustrations are. But by the time they sort of leave that meeting, that's when the whole movie, to me, falls apart because I did think it became cliched and very predictable. So it's like, okay, this is happening. That's how it's like, okay, I literally said, oh, this is going to happen. And as I couldn't believe I called this, like, wow, they really did do this. I said, oh, is this going to happen till the very end? It's like, oh my goodness. So that was my problem only with the movie. Cause I actually thought it was going to go really to another different territory.
Me too.
Cause I think this woman, if she could come up, the director, if she could come up with another kind of way of really expressing this, because the fact that she had sort of quote unquote a foreign name really sort of hit, because I thought, yeah, she must feel this kind of thing from these women. And what are they thinking? Because my thing is the women I thought were, the actresses I thought were fine for what they were doing. What they were saying was doing. It's just that the actions towards the second part of the movie, just like, okay, now it's sort of fallen apart for me completely. What you sort of pulled me in, being this kind of movie, you've now turned it into a Blumhouse, okay, kind of movie where it's like, no, you don't need to go there. You don't need to go there, but they did.
Right.
So that's
or
the
it's
one
like,
thing.
I don't need to go there.
Exactly. And my thing is, I was not offended, being Asian and hearing white people say stuff like this. No, I think this is something that we need to sort of confront and talk about openly in our society now, which is why I thought this is like a really important film. And I wish it just had gone a different direction.
Yeah, actually, it started well that way, like conversations they're having. You're right. It could have gone in a different direction that would have made it a much better film.
I really thought it was going to go there for some reason because I said, "Oh, this isn't like this kind of creepy horror, Blumhouse movie."
Well, George had mentioned something before that I think the word is very important with this, and that's blame. That if you watch daytime television, it's just nonstop blame. It's all shows about I'm going to prove that he's the father. Or it's what all the show. Ellen DeGeneres. All these shows is people coming on and trying to blame somebody else. Jerry Springer, that's all it was about. And that's what it's like now. This is a country of blame. And so this movie might have played great on daytime television because that's the audience for it. It's just somebody looking to blame someone else. It's other people are not getting the jobs because of the color of their skin. They're getting the jobs because they're willing to work, and you're not.
Well, that's not true.
But having said that, it's you guys' fault that I don't get more screen time.
What?
It's your fault that I don't get more
You know what
screen
I
time.
think?
You guys.
Oh, sorry. What I think
You
really
need your-
interesting is if you see a horror movie, there's way more blood, guts, gore.
It wasn't
but
that.
I
It
think-
wasn't the blood and guts that bothered me at all.
Well, let me finish
Yeah.
what
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying.
Mm.
But when it's put in a realistic setting, people kind of freak out.
I didn't think it
It's
was
like-
realistic.
Oh, see, I sort of did. That's
did.
why I said that's how I really bought the opening because it's like, oh, I feel like okay, at least I know she's going to be unpleasant, so they go and meet other women. The fact that they're unpleasant doesn't surprise me, but it's like, oh no, that I felt
But
that
also-
genuinely that
See,
first
but-
part.
I thought it was a
really
show
good.
business reality.
But also
I
because it was
didn't-
shot in one camera, it felt like giving more realism.
Yeah,
Yes.
That could
exactly.
be somebody with their phone
It-
recording
it's
their
just
friends.
that. It's just that I was
Mhm.
going to say I'm a white person. I think I would have come in contact with some of these people in my life, right?
No. No,
I
you
wouldn't.
Well,
Why not?
I,
You
I
might,
have.
you might even
Maybe-
know
maybe-
them,
maybe
but you
depends
don't
what
know how
state.
they think.
But you know,
Well, that she was pretty obvious
Also-
from the get go.
do we know where they were? What city? What
It
state?
was like
No.
It
small,
felt like North
See-
Pacific.
you know, or
I-
a small
I know
town
there was- I know it felt-
USA,
it felt
middle
cold,
class, middle class.
But I know there was water involved and it felt cold.
But see, that's what I was gonna say. I agree with you because they do not name the place, to my knowledge.
Mhm.
But you're right; it's supposed to mean every town in
Yeah,
USA
right.
is what it's supposed
Right.
to represent,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So, and I felt that. I really felt that. That's why I said it was like, oh, okay, the fact that she's unpleasant doesn't bother me. It won't turn me off of the movie. Because I thought, yeah, I know people like that. There are people who think that way. And then it's like, but the extremes they take it to at one point, it's like, oh, see, that's to me was the sad part. If they didn't take the extreme and they just had discussion about that, and then bring in people who are not white and have even a further discussion.
Well, they could
That
have
would
made,
have been
yeah,
fascinating.
it could have been
Yeah.
a bigger discussion
Right.
about race. Not
No.
race,
Well, just
about prejudiced.
well, just about
Because-
being a white female person. Like I said, that's why it's called soft and quiet because that's how they said that's how we seem to be everybody,
Yeah.
Well,
but we won't be.
the thing-
And then they want to defy that by
And
taking
also,
to the movie to the second level.
and also the one guy they had in the movie was the girl's.
Well, they had two
husband.
guys. Same
okay.
thing, the priest and then
Oh,
the
right,
husband.
right. But the husband, but also the husband, he was the one who kept going. Bad idea. It's a bad idea. Don't do this. But so,
Right.
you know, he's kind of almost reverse.
Yeah,
role.
I didn't get that character at all. He just
He was like more like that little shoulder going. Don't do this. Don't do it,
Right.
Tony. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but he just was like he was like, okay, you know.
But he was kinda weak.
Here
He
we
was
go
kinda weak.
again, and I
Well,
didn't-
because the one thing that's reflected as we talked about the pregnancy test is the whole thing with the husband and her. That you could tell
Mhm.
that, oh, I can't make her happy. I can't tell her what to do.
okay,
You
yeah,
know, that kind of
I
aspect.
probably slept through
Yeah.
that part.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I just that's the feeling I got watching it because he doesn't bring up that up, but you can tell he doesn't want to do any of this. It's like, why is he there?
Mhm.
But she basically shames him into like, oh, like man up, which is like Patty was saying, how it just takes one person to get you going, you
Mhm.
know, and I don't know what she's saying about women are vicious, but the fact that immediately she goes after the guy's manhood, you know,
Mhm.
you're like,
I think
basically grow a pair of balls
Mhm.
and do
Yeah.
this. You have to do
Mhm.
this for your race. She's sort of
Mm-hmm.
implying that.
but just the fact that
Yeah.
he can be manipulated that way
By a
is
woman.
kind of
Right.
like
Exactly.
ridiculous.
Or by
Yeah,
a
well,
wife.
we
By a
we
wife,
didn't know
yeah.
who he was, other than that we see these scenes of her bossing him around and
Well, I think it's her
intimidating.
boyfriend.
or boyfriend
Or
or
I thought
husband.
it was
Yeah.
her husband.
Yeah,
but,
like I
but I
said,
mean,
yeah.
he just came in as a character. He wasn't like a character who was like a fully developed character. He was
Right,
there
but
as a
she's
plot
she's a
device.
pretty dominant character,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and so of course her partner would not be
I think he's also,
work if he was also very dominant.
Yes.
but it's also there
Exactly,
to me
yeah.
to be the little more like the voice, the sense voice with the
Yeah,
common
Jimmy
sense.
Cricket.
The common sense voice saying,
Yeah.
The voice of reason.
yeah, the voice of
Exactly.
reason, exactly. Yeah, don't do this, don't do this. Bad idea, bad idea.
But he also had some good ideas too. It's like,
Well,
did you part? Well, like
the problem is that
Right.
the-
Exactly.
well, the
yes.
they were
problem is-
like kind of stupid.
Well-
they were so stupid. It was
Right.
like, we're going to do this. It's like they were going to go do
Right.
something that they didn't think about at all.
Well, here's what
Yeah.
the interesting thing, right? He's telling her, don't do this, don't do this. But when they commit, he's like, that guy's like, he knew what to do. It's like, no, you're going to do this. You're gonna do this. Suddenly he's like,
Oh,
no.
I don't want to go to jail.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which strikes me that he may have been
Yeah,
there
exactly.
before.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Which is what the one girl is the one girl
her brother-
who is the crazy girl.
Her brother is funny. Her from
That's
from
the
prison.
Leslie.
Yeah, but
right?
The main girl, the blonde, the tall one.
she's also like I said, it could have been interesting because she was obviously in jail. When you go to jail and you go to jail for a long
Leslie,
time,
yes, the Leslie character. yes.
you need protection. So you tend to go get protection from the group that's very
And she mentions that how
prevalent
that
in
changed
jail.
her. That,
Right.
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that you're from. So most people can drop it after, but she didn't. She was very much,
Mm-hmm.
so like I said, it could, unfortunately, like you said, it could have been a very interesting movie if they would just have expanded the premise. You know?
The discussion, the philosophy behind why do you feel this way and how come our country is that way, or, because is the country I'm living in the same country you're living in? It doesn't seem to be that way for you. And it's like, why? What's the fundamental
Yeah,
problem?
it could have
that's
been really
happening?
interesting,
Yeah.
but it is a Blumhouse movie.
Because you're not-
I think you're not being fair
If
to
they had made
Blumhouse.
it
I mean,
philosophical, like expanded that idea, he went for it. This is the worst scenario you could go for.
In
This
a
is
way,
what
yes,
can-
I agree. I
You know,
agree.
after everybody's talked about it,
Mhm.
he went for this is what can happen. And it can.
But
Mhm.
it can happen with any group of people too. Like I was
I'm
thinking,
not saying it can't.
like I was
But what I'm
thinking,
saying is that's why that movie
yeah,
had
but
to
they
go there.
limited it. It's like I was thinking of a lot of the East European people that are now going into Europe, and there's also a lot of that kind of talk. Also,
yes,
they're
yes,
both
yes,
white
yes.
people.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it could have it could have been more interesting. That's why if they
Yes.
made it bigger, kind of
Mhm.
thing. Yes, I got it.
Mm.
Because I think the way they did it, you think it's only limited to this little group. These are the
Right.
only bad people.
Right.
Oh no, there's lots of bad people, and it's not to do with necessarily these issues. The
There's so
scenery
many
changes.
issues. Exactly.
Yeah. So so
Well, the movie they just pick one particular group, to make the point. And
Yeah.
they could have done a movie about any group, but in this movie, the movie is trying to make a point about a particular group.
Yeah.
And right, for a Blumhouse movie, it started great. Right, it could have gone if it was Oliver Stone or something, it could have gone in some direction, but
yeah, then it would have been a 3.5 hour movie.
okay. So let's
Okay,
Right.
let's
we got to
okay.
So,
close.
George, you're
George.
rated.
So it's interesting because it's the first the beginning of it was very interesting, and then it did go south. So I kind of put it somewhere in the middle. I do 5.
Gives me great pleasure to not rate it.
Yeah. I don't-
Okay, I will rate it. I would give it a 0.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
See, I just rank it a 4. I think some parts are still interesting to see, but
It's definitely a movie you don't want to go.
exactly.
No, you don't want to be a part of watching this movie. That's my point. You don't
But-
want to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's
You don't want to be desensitized to this
Right.
stuff.
But Patty, what's your score?
I gave it a 9. I thought it was good.
Oh wow! Really?
You're not. I'm looking at the big picture of the
No.
story of the story.
Yes.
That's the whole point of it.
Okay.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so
Okay.
We'll be back.
So that's a wrap. Thank you for watching this episode of What the Flicks podcast. I hope you'll check out some of the movies we suggested because a lot of them are really good and we would love to hear your comments. Remember to subscribe, like us, and leave a comment. So until next time, adios.